Welcome to stream number 3. Just a heads up, I am a little bit under the weather. So if my voice isn't sounding as in tune as it normally is, or if I say completely wrong information, just call me out on it. But so just heads up on that. So yeah, welcome to stream number 3. And because this is stream number 3, I said to myself, I have to do this stream because it would be sad to not do the third stream. All right. So we're talking about the A minor chord and how to use it. We're going to learn how it's constructed. We're going to learn how to physically play it. And then we're also going to learn a lot about it, and then some ways that you can use it in different ways and sort of make your own arrangements and make your own songs and things like that. So let's move on to question 2, since I didn't put question 1 in. So we're going to talk about how does it work in the key of C. So in the first lesson, we talked about the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, and the 1 chord in the key of C, which would be our big 4. So C, F, G, and we're going to be adding in A minor today. So that's going to be good. We're going to have the rest of our big 4. And we're going to talk about how it works in the key of C, because it's a very powerful chord, this A minor chord, especially in the key of C. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to break down the chord, and I'm going to give you some advice and some little tips on really making this chord work for you. We're going to talk about, now this is the real stuff right here. When can you switch an A minor chord for a C chord? Because, you're reading some music and stuff like that, and you see a C chord. There's times where you can just switch it to an A minor, and it just gets a really cool sound. We're going to talk about that, so that's going to be especially cool. Let's see. We're going to strum through the Itsy Bitsy Spider, a fantastic song that is just a 1 and a 5 chord, but you know what? You could definitely add in an A minor when you have a little bit of rain. Right, a little bit of rain chord. And so yeah, let's talk about how to play it. So this course is designed for complete beginners, but of course, if you're a ukulele expert, a ukulele pro, feel free to add in the comments, or maybe we'll learn something together. All right, so the first thing we're going to have for our A minor chord, so we're going to have the string closest to the ceiling, which is the way I'm going to describe this, is going to be 2nd fret. And realistically, you can use any finger that you would like to press the 2nd fret, and you're going to find out why in a bit. And sometimes you need to press different ones. So you're going to press 2nd fret on the string closest to the ceiling. The next note is going to be open on the C string. All right, so we're going to have pretty easy so far, and I think you're going to like the rest of it. Then the next string is going to be open. And then finally, because I don't think anything tricky is going to be happening here, you're going to have the string closest to the floor is going to be open. So the G string is going to have the 2nd fret, and everything else is going to be open. Now, it's your choice on whether you want to use your 1st finger or 2nd finger or 3rd finger or even 4th finger if you really felt like it. Probably not the best finger, but So, and sometimes, and there's no right way to play it, as long as you're playing 2 open, 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 because sometimes if you're going into this chord, right, the sort of diminished thing, well, I'm going to want the 1st finger there. Why? Because all the other fingers need to be set up, right? And that's the important thing with ukulele is don't think of these chords as I have to play this combination. Think about it as what makes the most sense for the next chord, because you're setting yourself up for the next chord. So A minor, super easy chord. We're just going to build that one last time. So 2nd fret on the string closest to the ceiling. Open, open, and open. Told you it was easy, and it's nice that fills out our big 4. And that's a lot of power in there. And we talked last week about one of the Doc Brown moments. And a Doc Brown moment to me is anytime I have something that if I could go back and give myself a lesson, what would it be, right? And in this case, one of the things I would definitely do is I would make sure, especially on ukulele, always know where the roots of your chords are. We're going to talk a couple of tips and tricks where if you know these roots, you can start manipulating the chords. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of power. Let's see. So we have our A minor. Where are the roots? And we have 2 roots in the A minor chord. So the first note, which is the fretted 2nd fret, is going to be one of our root notes. So that's going to be A. And then the next root is going to be the open A string. So you have the second frets going on here, and then the A on the open string, right? Any questions, any clarification, feel free to put some questions in the comments, and I will gladly get to those. So again, knowing the roots is extremely important. So we have one root, which is this fretted second fret, right? So that is an A, right? That's the note where all the notes like to go back together. And then we have the A also on the open string. So you have two roots, but it is important to understand the way that the rest of this chord is constructed. So let's see. You would have on the third would be this open C note. So that's this one in yellow. So let's see. So we're going from, right, breaking down the chord. Oh, so that note right there is the third of the note. Luckily, my low range, even though I'm sick, is still pretty okay. Yeah, you definitely won't be hearing me do any falsetto today. That definitely will not be happening today. And the E note, which is going to be on the open E string, right? As we know, green cats eat avocados, right? There's the E string, second string closest to the floor. That one right there. Hopefully you got a good shot of that. Is going to be your fifth, right? So what we have is root. Then let's see if we can build this. Will this let us be fancy? Starting from the root. Third and fifth. Now this is super important. If you are interested in singing, if you are interested in singing harmony, playing harmony, these are super important to understand, because if you have a song which is singing up here, and this is where I'm singing, and I'm singing on the fifth, and right, you kind of get in this lane where if all of a sudden you're singing here, and now I'm singing on the third, right? You're singing in that lane. And if you have the, right, this one here, so I'm singing here, and I'm singing on the root. Here's the fifth, here's the third. But basically it puts you in a lane and stuff like that. Don't need to worry about that too much. And I know I'm saying like root, third, fifth, all this mumbo jumbo. So here's just a quick little breakdown. Now this will change. But you basically in this chord, again, this is where I need to give you information, but I can't give you too much information, because knowing all the information ends up being a little bit more difficult. But just realize that in an A minor chord, some sort of A is going to be your first, right? Your root. Your B is going to be your second. Your C is going to be your third. Your D is going to be your fourth. Your E is going to be your fifth. Your F is going to be your sixth, and your G is going to be your seventh. Now, these will change. You can't just take this chart and just put it over any chord, but just realize that some sort of E, like if I had an E sharp, it would be a sharp 5. Too much information, ignore that. Just realize that we would have our A would be our first, B would be our second. I don't know. The chart's there. You can pause the video. Let's talk about some tricks to understanding the root, right? So you understand your root, right? You go, okay, I learned my A minor chord, super easy to play, but yeah, let's spice it up a little bit, right? Now, if you understand your root and where your root is, and you understand that your root is, again, on the fretted second fret and the open string closest to the floor, we can start messing around with this. And I know you've probably, if you've looked at any songs, you'll see some chords and you go, I don't know what an add 9 is, or a minor 7 is, or a 6 chord, or any of that stuff. But eventually, when you start understanding the roots, you may have a much better understanding of what's actually going on. So again, think this shape's A minor. Here are the roots. And I'm just going to show you a nice little couple tricks with these. Just playing off of the roots. So if we take this, our second fret, and we move it down 1 fret, you get something called an A minor major 7, which has this sort of like, well, it's minor, but it's got like this mysterious thing going. Very much sort of the James Bond, like, oh no, what happened kind of thing. Very sort of unresolved. And if you move that down another, you're going to have an A minor 7, which, look at that. Is that not the most convenient chord ever? It's everything open. And I know what you're saying. We might talk about it briefly, but is not a C6. That's for another lesson, but yeah, it is also a C6. But for now, it's an A minor 7. The same set of notes. You can call them different ways. They act differently. So check out this trick because we all of a sudden we know the roots a little bit, right? Right. So we've got A minor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the root down. Now I still have my third, my fifth, and my root, right? Those are still there, right? I don't need this string. And another one is everyone likes an add 9 chord. Everyone seems to like the F add 9. We kind of had talked about the other week, where it's like, oh, just play a fancy F, which you can call an add 9. So what is an add 9, right? So if you were to end up taking this, right, you'd have your root, you'd have your third, you have your fifth. And then all of a sudden, if I were to add the second fret on the string closest to the floor, let's see. One day I'm going to actually set up my good camera. So we go second fret plus our original chord. And you end up getting this this add 9, also very sort of James Bond-ish end chord. So you want to think about this. You have your root, you have your third, you have your fifth. And by adding this note, you have your add 9. Now, if I didn't know where my roots are, I wouldn't know that was an add 9. And just be careful. As much as this add 9 works out really well, it can make your vocal lines a little bit more difficult. How does it fit in the key of C? So we talked about some basic harmony last time. So we're still using just our big 4 chords: C major, F major, G, possibly G7. We'll talk that in a little bit. And A minor, right? So we have our 1 chord. And again, these chords tell a story, right? They have a very specific use. And so the 1 chord is your home chord. And of course, in the key of C, it's going to be a C chord, right? Again, I use the thank you, good night reference. Thank you, good night. Now you go to the 4 chord. That's a trip, right? And eventually, everything likes to return back to the 1 chord. The 5 chord has this pull back to the 1. So 1 is home. 4 is just sort of a very easy trip. Maybe you're doing some errands, and then the 5 chord is the one that likes to go back home, right? So home, 4 chords taking the trip, 5 goes back home, and then of course 1 is where we return. Now, the A minor chord was something known as a 6 chord or a minor 6 chord, right? I didn't use the Roman numerals. Sometimes you use Roman numerals. That helps when you have a lot of information on the page. Right now, we're not going to worry about the Roman numerals, though. So we have A minor, which all of a sudden is, okay, this is oversimplification time. I'm going to apologize to everyone who I'm oversimplifying this to. Replace the C chord with A minor equals instant sad. And we'll talk about that. But, so if you have a song, all right, we did a really, really easy version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And all of a sudden, if you replace some of those C's with A minors, it's instant sad. Again, I'm going to say this one more time. Oversimplification, but it's kind of true, right? So if all of a sudden 1 chord, 4, 5, and instead of going back to 1, all of a sudden I go to 6. And next thing you know, you're playing the chords to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. We'll talk about the number of beats, the number of pulses. So we would have C for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, going to G, back to C, G, and C. So we're going to have a C chord. We're going to have everyone's least favorite of the big 4 at the beginning, a G chord, and then back to C. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So of course, for vocals, that would be the itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. Again, very simple structure, great song to learn, and it's really great for this minor lesson. So again, let's try strumming that one more time. So it's going to be C, 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 switch to G, 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 switch to C. Stay on C. going back to G and C. Now, if we're talking about the harmony, we get the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord. Here's essentially the story that you get, right? Right, 1 chord's at rest, 5 chord likes to go back to 1. So the 1 chord likes to go to the 5 and then back to the 1. 1, it's at home. Trip that likes to go back home, home, right? So you have, again, we talked about tension and release in the first lesson. So you have, it's resolved, tension, resolve, resolved, tension, resolved. The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun, repeat, and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. All right. And let's talk about a couple of ukulele tips. We talked about this the first lesson. When you're in the key of C, if you find a G7 as an easier choice, you can certainly use that. Now, this comes with a warning. Oop, let's see. Sorry, let me just move that. This does come with a warning. And we'll talk about how, obviously, knowing the root kind of helps you. What's the warning I'm trying to give you? A G7 cannot be played. It's not like this F add 9, which sounds basically good almost anywhere. A G7 can only be used in certain situations. And one of basically the main situation that you would use it in, you're in the key of C, and you're also looking for a little extra pull. If you use that G7 in other situations where you see a G major chord, it may sound completely off. It's the same reason why you can't just use a C7 chord for, in the key of C, because all of a sudden it's, it basically moves it. So this G7's got a lot of power, but you need to realize you probably only want to use it when you're in the key of C. So anyway, so we're talking about the roots, right? So you would have the open G string right here. The string closest to the ceiling is going to be a root, right? And that makes sense. It's a G chord. That open G string is going to be one of those. And you would have the 3rd fret on the 2nd string closest to the floor is going to be a root. So if we look at it like this, so we move it down 2 frets. That's why this G chord becomes a G7, because we've added the 7th note of the scale. And again, this G7 has this pull, right? So basically you have this wants to go up and this one wants to go down. And again, I apologize. I am just definitely a little bit under the weather today, and that's okay. Of course, the last thing we said we were going to talk about is when can you take an A minor chord and basically put that in place of a C chord, right? So real quick, if you would like to, you can use that G7 if you find that a little bit easier in this one. So we would have 1, 2, here we go. The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Repeat, out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. Here's a couple of options for when we could pop in the A minor. So if you look what we have here, so we have C, 2, 3, 4, going to G, going to C, right? Right? Same exact as we were doing. Now we're going to switch to A minor because we know that that's instant sad. Instant sad. 2, a 3, 4, a 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's try that again. So we have our A minor right here, which I can point at. I'm getting better at this, better at this pointing, right? So we'd have C, going to G, going to C, then also A minor, G, going to C, G to C, and A minor, G, going to C. So now, listen to the way it sounds with vocals. The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain
sun and to wash the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain, and the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again.